ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we're going to be talking about Fall of the House of X number 3, written by Jerry Duggan, with art by Lucas Wernick and Jorge Morales, with color by Brian Valenza. The longer this story arc churns on, the more it becomes obvious ORCHIS was screwed from the word go. I've said it multiple times, and it's something reaffirmed here now, if more than any other issue of this story arc so far. Mutant kind is winning. They're taking the fight to ORCHIS and handily winning so far. It's not without its hitches. Juggernaut is fighting for his life to protect Krakoa, something that, while lately is characteristic of how far he has come as a entity in the Marvel Comics universe, but if you were a casual comics fan who may only know of the character from video games or cartoons, or even from old internet memes, I'd forgive you for thinking this was out of character. But Jugs is doing what he does best, being unstoppable, or rather, almost unstoppable. I saw some people that were miffed by the idea that he was stopped by an adamantium spear to the ankle, but in truth, it makes sense. He doesn't wield the same level of power some fans may remember. Contrary to popular belief, he does possess the Crimson Gem of Sidorak, but not in the way he used to. He only has it in shards, so his power is lesser for it. Still raw, near unstoppable power, but not the level of OP he once was. And we know for a fact he does have the power of the gem coursing through his veins, because Dr. Stasis tried to steal it from him using a blood transfusion after Juggernaut was captured in the fallout of last year's Hellfire Gala. We also see Apocalypse rallying the troops on Arakko and Manifold bringing the Sword Base 2 to pick everyone up and bringing them to Earth. All very good stuff. We even see Woofer get a little moment to himself, but the thing I feel is most telling is the revisit of Destiny's words as the fight begins. But before we talk about that, let's give a shout out to today's sponsor, HeroClix. HeroClix is a game by WizKids that has been delivering amazing, and I would dare say epic, superhero battles in a tabletop gaming experience for over 20 years. HeroClix is awesome because it doesn't limit you to just one thing. You can have battles not just between your favorite Marvel characters or your favorite DC characters. You can have battles even between your favorite Marvel and DC characters at the same time. Right now, HeroClix is rolling out their 2024 starter kits, and I was able to get my hands on both a Marvel and a DC version of both of these, and I'm gonna tell you right now, they're pretty amazing. These sets bring to life some really cool dynamic minis for characters like Black Panther, Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Captain Marvel on the Marvel side of things, and on the DC comic side, you can see characters like Batman, Harley Quinn, Wonder Woman, and Superman. You can go to the WizKids HeroClix website, use the promo code BLERD10, and you'll be able to get 10% off your entire purchase, with some exceptions. But anyway, with all that said, let's get back to the video. Here we learn more of the prophecy that Destiny revealed in X-Men number 24 that was not shown to us. She brings up a note about so much death and destruction culminating with an X in the heavens, which we see this issue. The two sword bases crossing one another in space, and here she mentions that when this happens, it will signal the fall of the Krakoans. While we see a bunch of Iraqi mutants flying down to help, this likely means them as well, but basically a lot of people will very likely not survive the experience of facing ORCHIS once and for all. And also this is in a way too signaling the end of the House of X era as a whole. And while we get no significant deaths this issue, at least not of any mutants, we do get a couple of high profile deaths from ORCHIS, and we'll talk more about them here in just a moment. But first, the part about kings clashing in white and black after the death of the Red Queen might be more telling than we initially thought. We know right now Tony Stark is the Black King of the Hellfire Club, while Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, is the White King. And while no Red Queen has been cemented yet, the only thing that would make sense is if Fisk made Typhoid Mary his wife, who recently returned from Otherworld after the Realm of X series. It would make way more sense if this was the case, if it was her who ended up being the Red Queen who was unalived. This seems very Hellfire centric. I know there's lots of people been telling me that, oh, no, this is a nod to King in Black and, you know, the Beyonders, and I don't think it actually goes that far. I mean, sure, those are all things, but the Hellfire Club is actually more intrinsic to the storyline than the other thing, and I always like to direct people towards the theory of Occam's razor. The less moving parts something needs to make sense, the more likely that thing is to be the case. The answer is almost always the simplest solution, and if you were to include the King in Black, Venom, who is doing his own thing on his own comics over on, you know, another end of things, and we've also got the Beyonders also kind of doing their own thing elsewhere, I don't think that's going to be the case. It's a nice thought, but honestly, if the Beyonders and Venom showed up in this, I'm not going to lie, I would just call bullshit. It would be literally the dumbest thing Jerry Duggan could add into the story. But once again, this all seems very Hellfire centric, and the only reason I even bring this up is because while we already knew it, when I first encountered this prophecy, I assumed maybe it would be Kate Pryde, who was actually the most recent Red Queen of the Hellfire Club, but we know for a fact she survives the experience and will lead her own X-Men team post Fall of X. But considering Emma Frost is the White Queen, it would make sense if Typhoid Mary wound up being the Red Queen who dies. She has not been formally given the title yet, but anything can happen between now and the end of this, with 2 more issues of Fall of the House of X left to go. The Jovian bolt that is mentioned from the heavens, the stars ripped in half, might just be Manifold's doing. He may just have one more favor to ask of the universe, and it is well within his capability to summon such a thing. We've seen him in the past, oddly enough, during the King in Black story arc, where he literally asked the universe to give him a piece of the sun that he could hold in the palm of his hand. If he could do that, I imagine he could summon down some crazy bolts and tears in the stars in the sky. And while some might believe this is in reference to Thor, not Manifold, that is possible too, though we know Stark asked the Avengers to stay out of the X-Men's affairs as of the most recent issue of Avengers, because if ORCHIS could take down an island full of mutants, some of which are literal world destroyers, a gang of 7 heroes would be light work for ORCHIS, even if they are Earth's mightiest heroes. But in the end, maybe then would be the best time to strike, but I don't think the Avengers are going to show up in this one, and honestly, it's probably for the best that they don't. I don't think the X-Men need saving. If they're going to win this, even if it's a Pyrrhic victory, they need to win it on their own. This is one of those instances where I like to, you guys know I'm a wrestling fan, and one of the best things you can do to make sure a babyface looks strong is to let them win clean. And when I say win clean, I mean win without cheating, without using any outside interference, without anyone coming down to the ring from the back to help them out. When a babyface can beat the heel clean, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, it cements that victory so much better than if, say, the Stone Cold Avengers come running down to the ring and help them get the win. Like I said, it's just one of those things I feel, if the Avengers show up, it cheapens the whole thing. This is an X-Men story arc, not an Avengers X-Men story arc, despite the fact that Tony Stark is hanging around. Now, I mentioned high-profile deaths this issue. Well, for starters, we finally see the end of Dr. Stasis, and as the cover would have you believe, Wolverine is the one to do it. It's actually Firestar, or more specifically, a combination of Emma Frost and Firestar. Firestar was hidden away by Stasis prior to these events, and Dr. Stasis gets wrecked by Emma Frost, psionically mind you, making him experience multiple deaths at the hands of various mutants, all of which are gruesome and grisly to say the least, but none more gruesome than dying of a heart attack and then being roasted to a crisp by Firestar. And as for death number 2, that would be Dr. Alia Gregor, the former co-leader of ORCHIS and newfound ally of mutant kind. While Alia Gregor has decided to turn over a new leaf, now recognizing that ORCHIS was not what she originally thought it was, and even now realizing that mutants aren't even her actual enemy, but the artificial intelligence that they have been working alongside, when Dr. Alia Gregor and Cyclops travel back to the summer house on the moon, or what used to be the summer house on the moon up until the fallout of the Hellfire Gala when ORCHIS took it over, when they do so, they come face to face with Nimrod. And for those who may or may not remember, Nimrod, though he is a machine, Nimrod was built from Dr. Alia's fallen husband, Erasmus. He's still in there somewhere, but not enough to change what he's become. I initially wondered if maybe she could be the secret to taking him down, but Nimrod chose to remove her from the table, completely twisting her head backwards, and now this leaves Cyclops to face Nimrod solo dolo. Look, Psyche is a bad man, and we've seen him completely vaporize full-size Sentinels before, using his optic blast, but Nimrod is built different. The truth of the matter here is that Cyclops is in a tough situation, and he very likely could pay the ultimate price. The trick with Nimrod, though, and I think it's actually very telling when we see this later in the issue, is when they're showing us why all the different people who ultimately aligned themselves with ORCHIS and became one of its petals, why they joined ORCHIS, why they threw in their lot with this organization. And what it all boils down to is one thing, and it's that Nimrod, while technically he didn't exist quite yet, the idea of Nimrod already did. Somehow, some way, he was a part of the plan. And Omega Sentinel, because technically she came from a alternate future, so to speak, maybe that also has a lot more to do with it. But the fact that Nimrod says ORCHIS, a shiny bauble that was flashed in front of fleshy eyes, it was used to inject simple ideas into small minds across Earth. Man and mutant killed each other, and almost none of them looked at our larger equation. I love the way this is done, because this is a don't look up scenario. Even Nimrod says, we calculated we'd have the greatest chance of success if mutants and humans were at each other's throats. You would not look up to notice the sword over your head. The whole time all this has been going on, this has been the ultimate plan, and I've talked about this many times, where it's not humanity, is at least as far as ORCHIS is concerned, that is mutant kind's greatest threat, and mutant kind isn't humanity's greatest threat. They have a common foe, and who knows, maybe this will lead to better relations between humans and mutants once they realize they have a common foe. Dr. Alia Gregor was surely able to figure this out, and while Dr. Stasis and Dr. Alia Gregor are gone, we know Fei Long probably isn't long for this Earth either, and Director Devo probably is also not long for this Earth, and we saw that MODOK is already in the wind. I think it's safe to say that at the end of the day, ORCHIS is going to wind up working with mutant kind before it's all said and done. They're not going to have a choice in the matter, because it's already been shown to us that Omega Sentinel and Nimrod have no love for humanity, and they don't plan on keeping much of humanity once they've done what needs doing. Once mutant kind is stricken from the table, it's open season on everyone else. You guessed it, obligatory channel outro time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Clicking that subscribe button and tapping that notification bell ensures that you get more videos just like this one, and you don't miss any of my other content that I drop throughout the week, plus my live streams every Thursday and Saturday. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button, keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.